Welcome to yet another episode of the Coffee with Coaches podcast. I'm on kind of a roll in February so far. This has been great. I am your host, Kevin Stafford. And today I have the pleasure of having with me Preeti Shrikhande. Yeah. Okay. I almost tripped over it. Preeti is the founder and CEO of Vivensity, a program to empower teenagers with essential life skills. She has 28 years of experience in the tech industry and is also a certified life coach, longtime meditator, and certified yoga teacher, among many other qualifications, skills, and many interesting things. I'm actually really excited to talk to you today, Preeti. Thank you so much for being here.
Well, thank you so much for inviting me. It's a pleasure.
Excellent. Well, let's begin at the beginning, as I like to say. What got you not only into coaching, but what prompted you to start a coaching business?
So that's very interesting because I was, I have a master's degree in computer science and I have a master's degree in statistics. And I was happily on the ladder, as you call it, right? The corporate ladder to technology work. And I was at one point I'd become vice president. But at that same time, I was also raising a family and I have two boys. And when my older son was in 11th grade, there were 5 suicides in his school. And that shook the community because we live in Silicon Valley. It's like the center of things happening and there's so much opportunity, so much going on. And it just shook me to the core that why are our children feeling that this is a choice? And so when I decided that, okay, once I'm done with my main obligations of getting my kids off to college, I really want to work on something that has a deeper meaning. And, what I want to do something about a real world problem. I could continue building all these widgets, gadgets, tools, techniques, which was really fun for me with that background. But it was also like compelling to find something, go deeper into something that felt like a real world problem right next to me. And then as I started my research, I found that it's quite prevalent. Suicide rates are very high, and what's going on and what we see is so different, right? And the whole world for our children has changed quite dramatically in the last 10 to 15 years. And this change has been so much more rapid than any changes before. I mean, every generation feels that, but I think this, so I'm sure there's a story around that. But then more importantly, when I talked to people, at first I thought I'd just become a therapist and help these kids because that was the most direct way to help. And then as I started talking and researching, it would take me 5 years to become get all the qualifications and then start practicing. And I couldn't wait that long. So one of my mentors suggested taking a life coaching class to really feel like, okay, what does that really feel like? And how would it help me? And in general, before I've mentored lots of people, but it was more in the technology area. I was always in the mentoring programs in the various companies that I worked at, Sun Microsystems, PayPal, wherever I could, because it was always nice to give back. And personal development was always something that was a passion for me for a long time. That's why you'll see all the meditation and yoga and other things that I look into and lots of other support system, kind of funny because my husband and I both in high tech and raising 2 kids in Silicon Valley, you need to keep your sanity in some way.
Yes.
So all that put together, I thought that was a good idea that I should try life coaching. That way I would get coached for myself because I was trying to figure out what to do with my life as well as learn. I thought rather than taking it, I'd learn just like my yoga. Instead of going and taking yoga lessons, I thought, let me train to be a yoga teacher because you get a deeper learning. And that's where and so similarly, so I had taken some time off to just recharge my batteries and I went and did some hiking in the Himalayas. And that's when I went for this yoga teacher's training and I'm a certified yoga teacher. Then I came back and I said, okay, let me work on this. So now I was really energized. I went, at first, the first step was to go take this life coaching, which was a very nice program. I found a wonderful program which does the integral coaching from New Ventures West. And that looks at the integral human being. And, just figuring out, not just solving the current problem, but making them efficient and able to solve problems that come up in the future.
Yes.
And so that was one of the very nice experiences and it really helped. And then I got inspired that maybe I should just become a coach for these students. Yeah. But then my technology background kept, attracting me too. So I thought, let me combine the two. Yeah. And then decided to build a product and a program for teaching life skills for middle and high school students.
So, I love your story. I really do. It's so as you're talking, I'm almost in my head visualizing without even trying these braided paths where you're like, I did this for a while, I was successful here, I did this. You understood certain things about your nature, your desire to help and serve and mentor and contribute while also developing yourself. And I'm just watching as you're telling your story, I'm seeing all of these get braided and folded together and woven together into this, quite frankly, beautifully braided path that you've now set with Vivensity and with your coaching practice today. It's I don't want to say, well, it would be tried to say like you practice what you preach, but you are what you coach. Like you are the example. You went on these journeys, you went to these places, physically, mentally, emotionally, did all this. And just your instinct and desire to allow all aspects of yourself to come together to contribute to your community and the world around you. It's just, I mean, I hate to throw the I word out there, but it's inspiring. It's legitimately inspiring.
In fact, thanks. First of all, I should say thank you for recognizing that. And one of the things that we have done in our company is that for everyone in the company, it's not just business as usual. Like I was used to the tech world, and it's very different, the work culture. So in our company, the culture, the most important thing is our personal development, that how we interact with each other, that if we are teaching social emotional learning skills, we have to learn to live that role as well. You know, how can we, because it's our personal journey. So not just using it as a company or as a job, but use this as a method for our own personal development, you know, as a path in our journey. So it's been very fulfilling that way because I've learned so much about myself. And luckily, having the coaching background, I'm not only able to come up with good ideas for the students, but also for my own staff, right? So they feel held and they feel understood and they feel heard. So I feel that's a very important aspect as well.
It's pretty magical once you realize how helping others helps you more profoundly than anything else, almost anything else you could do. It's really like you see it and it's one of those things you understand, like, oh, sure, yeah, helping others, it helps me. It makes total sense. But when you really get a taste for it and you really understand exactly how powerful it is, it really, I mean, again, another word I don't like to use too often, but it really is kind of magical. It never really loses its shine, at least not for me. It's like every single time it happens, every time I feel myself grow, whenever I help anybody else grow, it feels like magic every single time, and it never diminishes. In fact, that feeling of wonder just grows the more you do it, I think.
I totally agree with you. I totally agree. There's this little burst of joy in your heart, right? Like you just feel like something opening up. You expand a little bit bigger. You feel a little bit, you know, when you help someone else, it definitely helps you as well. Absolutely. I totally agree.
Yeah, I love it. Little burst of joy. I love that. It's perfect. Let's talk a little bit about Vivensity and your coaching practice. I mean, obviously you focus on empowering and equipping teenagers. Talk a little bit more about that. How does it work? What's your approach? When, you know, just a little bit more about like where you find people to help and how they find you.
Absolutely, sure. So basically, when I started off, I did a lot of research because, again, with my engineering hat and my statistics hat, spent a couple of years just actually talking to people. And because I was also doing my life coaching at the same time, then I told, you know, because I wanted to get certified, I needed a certain number of people to coach. So I offered my services for free. And I told my children that, you know, tell your friends that my mom will give confidential free coaching. And I told my friends, tell your kids that, you know, I'm giving free coaching. And through that, I got so many people to come because everyone was happy to say, hey, I can, you know, do this. And so I coached a lot of my children's friends. And I learned the world that they're living in is so different. And so, you know, deeply got to understand their thoughts, their feelings, and almost like what we were taught in our training with their coaching is to step into their shoes and try to experience their world. But we don't have their blind spots. So then maybe we can see a little different way and show them that path that we see. Because all of us have blind spots based on how we have grown. And so if you can get into someone's environment without the blind spots, then often you can see some gaps. Similarly, when I spoke to my friends and their children, it was pretty amazing that, you know, somehow they seemed extremely successful from the outside, but the struggles that they were going on inside were just really heartbreaking, you know. And then I thought, okay, this is the right thing. This is exactly what I want to be doing, is helping this generation. The other challenge was that we noticed that they're spending so much of their time navigating the outside world because there's so many wonderful toys and technologies and everything, lots of good stuff. But what it's doing, it's taking away the time that they would spend to go inwards. Getting bored is actually a good thing because it makes you think deeper, right? Like, what else could I do? Or just having the time to talk to someone, friendships, just hanging out with family. A lot of that time was going away because we were scheduling our children so much, especially in high school, because college apps, this, that, they've got so much going on that they really don't have time to figure out who they are. And also, as I also studied books, and I talked to psychologists, psychiatrists, and studied how the brain is developing. And at this age, the brain is also not supporting this kind of development for introspection because they're trying to prove themselves to each other. They're trying to, and they form the opinion of themselves based on what others are telling them. So if someone says, you're pretty, you're thin, you're fat, you're this, you're that, all those labels, they just think, yes, that's me. They don't stop and think, wait a minute, is that really me? So that's the thing I realized, that the key things were that one is that they have very little time, right? They have so much going on, and they're very sharp and very intelligent. If they understand something, they can apply it right away. They don't need lecturing and preaching all the time. They get it and they can do it. They're sharp and intelligent and they've evolved, right?
Yeah.
And so that was the idea that, micro learning, just giving them small aspects of what they need to do in multiple different ways would register better. And in technical terms, it's called micro learning and metacognition. So the micro learning aspects, then at some point it accumulates, and then you get that little thinking about your thinking, is that metacognition.
Yeah.
So that's when they say, oh yeah, I should drink more water because I feel different when I do it, rather than because everyone's telling me to. Simple things like that, plus more complex. So those were the aspects that I wanted to bring together. And the challenge was that there are a lot of different products that are helping younger kids because they're cute and cuddly, and elementary school parents, and they're close to the parents. Middle school is when they start distancing themselves, and that's how they're supposed to be. It's evolution, right?
Yeah.
And in high school, it's even more so that they're not very connected. Not all of them. I'm not generalizing for all, but in general, they're not supposed to be, because they're supposed to now find their mate and whatever is the normal evolution process, that they're distancing themselves from adults, but being closer to people of their own age group. And then many people take it as a signal of, we interpret it differently. Sometimes parents, teachers, other people interpret it differently if they don't understand that that's how their brain is actually developing. And their risk assessment faculty is not fully developed. So they're prone to take more risks, yes, which is actually a good thing, because if they do it properly, that's where they achieve a lot, right? So there are different ways that you can tap into it. There's really lots of good books. I read a lot of research. There's this book on Brainstorm, in which explains the whole process of how the brain develops. And they're saying that, you can tap into it and make use of this, rather than trying to say, oh, it's hormones, and dismissing it. And, which happens often, right? When you don't know, you sort of reject it. So all of that was so fascinating to me, their development. And then the challenge was that most of the content that was available was very preachy, must do this, do that. And now they're used to this world of TikTok and, everything. So it had to be engaging and fun and something that they would enjoy doing, especially for high school students. So that's what I realized, that there's so many solutions already out there. I don't need to go and reinvent a new one. And I don't even have the background to do it. I don't have psychology, psychiatry, but why? Let's use what's already there. Find all these different tried and tested techniques and proven methods, and bring them to the students in a fun and engaging way. And once it's presented to them, and give them 4 or 5 different ways to solve certain issues. For any issue, let's give them all the different ways and let them try out what works for them. Because what works for me may not work for you, right? I might watch a video and I'll get really inspired, and you might want to read an article and get inspired. So we're all very different. So that whole variability in the learner and in the person, we wanted to offer different things so that it would appeal to all different students. And we shouldn't just give one way, teaching it in only one way.
I love that. And that's a value that I pretty much every coach I talk to has, even if they don't articulate it necessarily quite as well as you just did, but that you're not there to create or dictate or force or something. You're not trying to tame the ocean. In fact, what a coach does, and I think what a coach excels at, given their training and their position, their relationship to the coachee, is that they guide and they equip. They're like, look, all these powerful tools are already here. They're already mostly in the exact shape they need to be already. You just need to make sure that you can find them. You can find them, you see them, understand how they're used, and choose the ones that work for your life. And then all that power, all that force comes from the teenager, because they have so much, like you're saying, their capacity, their intellect, their emotional depth is tremendous. And, you know, that scares some people, that scares some parents, because it's a very tricky time, like you identified. And so having someone to help with that slightly different perspective, different from the teenager and different from the parents, it's like, okay, here's how we can keep this bridge between you strong and also equip your child to really tap into everything that's going to make them awesome, for lack of a better term.
Absolutely. And that's what happened is when I went to these conferences and I would meet young children, whether they were in high school, middle school, college. And when I explained to them what I was trying to do, they were just so fascinated that an adult really understood and wanted to do something about it, that many of them signed up and said, we'll be an intern for your company. We want to help. We want to help in any way. You can interview us, tell us what to do. So we've built this group of ambassadors. We got them to become interns in the company. And, you know, of course, from my background in technology, the voice of the customer, you know, I've done a lot of Six Sigma work, which means that, you know, you already understand the needs of the customer, then develop a product based on certain metrics, that what is the result you're trying to achieve, and then figure out a method to measure it. Then you build the product, because then you're guaranteed success. And that takes a lot of effort and time. And but it's worth the effort, because in the end, the results that you get are much more measurable and much more, you know, effective than just going on the fly.
Yeah, you lay a strong. I mean, it's the same old metaphor. You lay a strong foundation. You take your time with it. When you finish laying a foundation, if you've done it right, all you have is a very smooth concrete slab that, you know, has some weird features to it, but it's very, you don't have a lot to show for it at that moment when it's done. But what you can build on that foundation is tremendous. And it's some people forget that. They don't spend the time necessarily to do the work. And if you can't tell, I'm starting to gush. I love everything about what you're doing. I love your approach. I love your personal story. I love your coaching practice. I love it all. And I could talk to you about this all day, but we've already been doing this for a little while. So I should give you a chance to talk about two more things at least. One, what's coming up in 2022, if there's anything new or anything old that you just want to like continue to get out there in 2022, and also where people can find out more about you and connect with you best.
Absolutely. So 2022 is the time for us to really get this out there, because, you know, we've tested it, we've done pilots, and we have several customers already, but now to scale it and get it out to more and more people. And we're trying to reach out to find good partners, you know, and reaching out to schools, school districts, sales, the whole marketing and sales. That's what we want to ramp up, because now we've seen that the product really works. And, you know, one of our leading people from one of the school districts, the wellness coordinator, was saying that I've searched for 2 years and I'm done. I found the best solution. And we are a little ahead of our times, because there are several products out there that don't have this whole comprehensive setup. And so everyone is, you know, and there's, especially now with COVID, all schools, everyone is trying to find a good product. And so we're just trying to make sure that we get the word out, we find the right people, and we would love to get it out to as many students as possible, because the impact is tremendous. We have actually done studies and results from our pilot studies as well, and actual usage, that within 2 months of using our product, 60% of the students said that they felt better at handling stress, which is huge. And 75% said that they felt that they had better decision-making capabilities. And we felt so gratified, because this is what we have worked so hard to build. And that's why it's been very, so the way, we have a website, we have, you know, people can reach out to us. We're also doing campaigns. So we would love to get more, you know, principals, school teachers, districts, whoever was trying to get social emotional learning skills for their students. We'd love to get it out there. And, you know, even internationally, we are working with some different groups internationally as well, locally. So yeah, love to. Is it
Vivensity.com?
Vivensity.com. That's VIV.
And I presume you're active on LinkedIn. That seems to be such a great place to make these kind of professional connections. I've gotten kind of not addicted to it, but I'm finding myself spending more time on LinkedIn, because I'm able to make surprisingly deep connections with people on a regular basis. So yeah, I'm sure LinkedIn's a place. Do you have any other social media that Or is it just basically find us on everywhere? Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Reddit, YouTube.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yes, we're definitely on Twitter, Instagram. We have accounts there as well. And we have definitely on LinkedIn and Facebook groups. And a lot of that is being managed by our students as well, because in fact, our students decided that they wanted to do a podcast, which is called the Spark Moment. And so now that's what they're working on as well. So yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of different philosophy. And the main thing we were trying to get across is not just help students with their day-to-day challenges, but also how they need to understand how to balance their energy to be able. So when we say, people are they're focusing on trying to manage their time. But what we advocate is like, if you try to manage your energy, you can do so much more, right? So we've taken a lot of wonderful nuggets of knowledge, information from several different places. And we're constantly on the lookout for like popular methods and trying to bring them out to the students in the best possible way. We've also created a parallel curriculum for teachers. So SEL for teachers and for school staff members and for the parents, because we feel like it's a holistic approach. And given the current situation, it's very challenging for teachers. So during the pandemic, we were getting lots of requests from parents and teachers that we need these skills too. And so we added more modules and we expanded it. It's an online, it's very engaging. We have activities that are all high-tech, 21st century. And based on my technology background, we've had built something that is definitely very interactive and fun and useful. And I guess effective, as we told you, the results are showing. The proof is in the pudding, as they say, right?
I was just gonna say, it's one of my favorite little sayings. The proof's in the pudding. You have alliteration, you have dessert, you got it all. Oh, Preeti, thank you so much for being here and sharing what's going on with you as a coach and with Vivensity, and really all of the people, teenagers, parents, teachers, the entire education structure, everyone that you're positioned to help starting immediately. I just feel like it's such a tremendous need right now, and I'm so glad that you and your company are filling it.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here, and thank you for that.
Thank you for the opportunity to share what we're doing. Hopefully, it'll get out to more people, and we can have some, more teenagers empowered with the life skills that they need.
Well, thank you. Thank everybody for listening, and yeah, go to vivensity.com to find out more, and we will talk to you soon.